Welcome to When Nerds Learn to Fly. I am not affiliated with Walt Disney World, and I no longer work there, but I used to, as a show finisher at Disney's Animal Kingdom in a department called Artist Prep Support. We took care of the skins that went on the audio animatronics, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. One of the most controversial animatronics that has ever gone into one of our attractions, and that would be the Donald Trump figure in Hall of Presidents. There's a lot of controversy around all of it, but once the figure was installed and people started to view it, there were a lot of blogs, there were a lot of videos discussing why this figure looked the way it looked. I wanted to see for myself, so I went with my little camera and started to zoom in on all of the figures in the Hall of Presidents. Some of them look pretty good, some of them aren't as good, but I do have to admit the Donald Trump figure really has some issues. This is just my opinion, but this is my inside view of things. I've been lucky enough to work side by side with some of the Imagineers, and I actually know the sculptor who created the sculpt that the skin was molded after. And I got to see pictures of it early on, and it was fantastic. The sculptor is amazingly talented, and if you had put the sculpture next to the real thing, it would have been hard to tell the difference between the two. I've heard all of the rumors that they thought Hillary was going to win, so they just did a Hillary figure, and then when Trump won, they had to switch it over. This is completely false. Disney is a very smart company, and they realize that elections can go many different ways that you don't expect them to. So they were prepared with a sculpt of Hillary and a sculpt of Donald Trump. So they were preparing for both of these candidates to possibly win. So no, they didn't switch over a Hillary animatronic to a Trump animatronic. I've also heard the rumor that the people that were creating this figure hated Trump so much that they purposely made him look ugly or whatever. This is also not true. Again, I know the sculptor. He is actually a Trump supporter, and I do not believe that he would have, even if he hadn't been a Trump supporter, I don't believe that he would have done anything other than his best, because as artists, our work is what represents us, and we want it to be the best that it can be. It's a personal pride thing, and none of our Imagineers would intentionally sabotage a piece of their artwork. So that being said, one asks the question, then what happened? And I want to discuss animatronics a little bit with you and the difficulties that you face. This is not the first figure that they've had a problem with. The Ellen DeGeneres figure also got some very, very bad reviews. And again, maybe it was because it's such a well-known face, it was a controversial figure at the time, and everyone's looking especially close at these figures. The more famous they are, the harder it is to capture that essence. So as I saw this figure, there were a lot of questions in my mind of, okay, how did this figure go south so quickly? And it really made me question the whole process of animatronics and how they're done. The development and use of audio animatronic figures at Disney was born out of the desire to push animation beyond its limits of two dimensions. It embodied elements familiar to film animation, mime, stage acting, but it's not any of these things. It's precisely this uniqueness that causes so much misunderstanding about how figures are animated. The fundamental problem of animating an audio animatronic figure is convincing people that a lifeless piece of hardware is a living entity. The second problem is creating the illusion of life in an entertaining way. There's an animator and director, Wooly Weatherman, who said that art animation lends itself least to real people and most to caricatures and illusions of a person. He was referring to film animation, but the problem carries over into audio animatronic animation as well. If you approach animating an audio animatronic figure, and especially a human figure, from the standpoint of meticulously reproducing its movements, you're going to fail. You have to develop a feel for how that movement can be exaggerated or enhanced to communicate emotion. The development of that feel for expression and the ability to infuse that into the performance of a machine is what makes a good animator. We have some amazing animators across Walt Disney property, but I think that they ran into a lot of challenges with this figure, and it's not the first time. First off, it's a very well-known figure, and if you remember the Ellen audio animatronic, she didn't turn out that well either. And when Ellen was presented with the animatronic after the ride closed, she was horrified. It definitely has happened through the process. A lot of things under stage lighting and from a distance really look a lot better than they do up close. So, you know, zooming in on these figures with the technology we have today challenges our animators in a way that they've never been challenged before. And then in addition to that, you have this figure that's very, very well known. He is also very animated. Lots of facial expressions, lots of hand movements. All of these things are very hard to capture in an audio animatronic figure. They've got that complication. He also moves his mouth in a way that most people do not move their mouths. Most people don't move this upper lip as they talk. It's mostly their lower lip that moves. So previous audio animatronics are focused on that lower lip movement. But now you have this well-known figure who does a lot of fish loops, which the technology is not really quite there to handle that. Some of the reasons that his base voted for him is because he was different than other presidents. So you have this figure who, for now, needs to be the focus of the show. But at the end of his term, or terms, or whatever it is, he is going to need to be put into the background and blend in. Again, he does not look like other presidents. The fake tan, which everybody knows he's got a spray-on tan, it's evident. The hair, the dress, just him in general, he's made a career of standing out. That has been his goal, to stand out. His campaign was on his differences. So you've got this figure that everything about him is to stand out, yet you know in 4 to 8 years you're going to have to make him blend in. So they've got that complication. They're thinking ahead and thinking about the progression of this attraction. You also have the problem of how controversial the figure is. If you take these things that make him him and you make them stand out too much, people will say that you're making fun. If you tone down these things, then it doesn't look like him. So the spray tan and the hair, they have to be there, but how do you do that without emphasizing them or making it comedic? I just see that there were a lot of challenges facing our Imagineers when they approached this figure. I hate to see them criticized so harshly. I guess what I'm trying to get to with this vlog is, even though the end result probably isn't the best animatronic that Walt Disney World has ever produced, I do believe that our Imagineers really put their hearts and souls into it, and just due to the character that they were trying to represent, they faced obstacles that were kind of unsurmountable. They did their best to capture this figure, but maybe missed the mark on it. It happens, and that's just my opinion. So the next time you go to see Hall of Presidents, maybe don't zoom in with your camera too much. Okay guys, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in the comments below. I'll answer anything that I'm capable of answering. I can't say that I am the best source of knowledge, but I can share my experiences with you. And if you're liking these vlogs, go ahead and please hit that subscribe button. I'll be doing a vlog every Sunday as long as I'm able to, based on what's going on in my life. And I hope to see you back next Sunday. Bye guys!
Always an adventure.
Yeah, that's us.